Hello, folks. This is Tom Martin. This is my lottery strategy game, Decoding the Powerball guessing game. I'm picking my numbers for the drawing on June 9th, 2018. If you'd like to play my game, Decoding the Powerball, to help assist you in picking your own numbers, then please go to my website at www.patreon.com/Decoding the Powerball. I have 7 strategies with my game Decoding the Powerball. So strategy number 1, the game card color code. Okay, so if you've never seen my videos before, why I make them is to show you on how to use my game. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the game card. Okay, so this is a format that I came up with that represents the 69 white ball numbers in the Powerball lottery. I really don't have anything for the Powerball itself. My goal is to get all 5 white balls correct and win the $2 million prize with the Power Play option. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to go to the Powerball homepage, and the 5 white winning numbers that just came up were the 23, 28, 41, 53, and 56. Again, I really don't care about the red ball. Okay, so what I do is I take those 5 white winning numbers and I put it at the top of this list. And then I take the last 3 drawings of numbers and I transfer these numbers over to the game card as red numbers. And then I'll do the same thing with the orange area, the green area, the blue, and the purple. Okay, so I have 5 different colors, one to represent each one of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so how this works is, again, I took 69 white ball numbers, I divided it by 5 different colors, and that equals 13.8. Okay, so my goal is to have at least 13 or 14 numbers per color. Okay, so for this drawing here, I have 13 red numbers, 14 orange, 15 green, 11 blue, and 16 purple numbers. Okay, and the number of colors change with every single drawing. Okay, so over here to the right, this 234. This tells me how many color code drawings I kept track of so far. And again, these are the color code drawings. Okay. So out of this 234 drawings, 121 drawings have come up a 3-color combination. 83 drawings have come up a 4-color combination. 23 drawings have come up a 2-color combination. And only 8 times out of 234 drawings have all 5 colors come up together, and never has it been just one color. Okay, so this number right here, this number 5, this tells me how many colors just came up in the last drawing. So you can see there was 1 red, 1 green, 1 purple, 1 blue, and 1 orange for all 5 colors. Okay, so they do come up. All 5 colors do come up together, but it hardly ever happens. Okay, so how I use this game is I try to correctly guess what the next number will be. Okay, how many colors will be coming up. So more than half the time, it does come up a 3-color combination. Okay, so the overall strategy is this. Okay, the strategy is to reduce the numbers. Okay, so again, there's 69 white ball numbers total. Only 5 numbers can come up as winners. So that means 64 numbers can't come up at all. Okay, so for me, I just think it should be easier to pick the numbers that won't be coming up than the 5 that actually do. Okay, so to help me out with that, I'm going to turn to how all 5 colors hardly ever come up together. Okay, so the strategy is try to correctly guess what color won't be coming up and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so for this drawing here, I'm going to guess that no red numbers will be coming up. Okay, and the reason why is because when I look from this point down to this point, I just see a lot of red. And also, a red number has come up in the last 7 drawings. So here's 1 drawing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you can see that there was no red numbers here. Okay, so again, my guess is that no red numbers will be coming up. So I'm going to eliminate them. Okay, so since I don't think they're going to come up, then I want to get rid of them. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate them off of the game card here. Okay, so to speed up things here, I'm going to scroll to the right. And this is what the game card looks like so far with no red numbers to it. Okay, so when I block out a number like this means that I'm not even going to consider this number when I'm picking what I think will be the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm spending $3 on a Powerball ticket, which includes the power play. Okay, so in other words, I'm betting $3 that none of these red numbers will come up in the next drawing. Okay, so if I'm correct with my bet and none of these red numbers come up, then I'm one step closer to that $2 million prize. Okay, so I'm going to turn to the next strategy. And that's strategy number 2, the individual numbers. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the individual numbers. Okay, and how this works is up at the very top is the master for each individual number. Okay, and over here to the right, these are the numbers that just barely came up in the drawing. Again, it was the 23, the 28, the 41, the 53, and the 56. Okay, so that turns out to be a 3-group combination. Okay, so I'm going to reduce this down so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, and what you're going to see here is that you're going to see 7 groups here total. Okay, so group number 1 holds the numbers of 1 through 9, and then it's the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Again, for 7 groups total. Okay, so how this works is that the first group has 9 numbers, and then the other 6 groups have 10 numbers. Okay, so what I do is I keep track of where the Powerball numbers land within this grouping system. Okay, so what you're looking at here, this big square, this represents 5 drawings. Okay, and there's a couple reasons why I like to break it down into 5. And one is when I go back into the history of things, it's just easier to count going 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Okay, but my other theory is that if there's been a lot of hits within these 5 drawings for this group of numbers, then maybe there won't be so many hits in the next 5 drawings, or vice versa. Okay, so again, the overall strategy is to reduce the numbers. Okay, so my guess for this drawing here, okay, is no 20 numbers will be coming up. Okay, so again, there's 7 groups here, but there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so I know that at least 2 of these groups will not be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so again, my pick is going to be, I don't believe any 20 numbers will be coming up. Okay, so we're all going to look at this a little bit differently. Okay, so you may say, I think the 30s are going to stay cold, or I think it's going to be the 40s or whatnot. Okay, so again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently. Okay, so I'm going to blow this back up. And I want to show you a couple other ways that you can use this. Okay, so again, the overall strategy is to reduce the numbers, but you can look at this and say, gee, I haven't seen any teen numbers come up in a while, so I think there's going to be a teen number that will come up. Okay, what you could also do is you could highlight just one number like this and go back and see what the colors have been. Okay, so if it's never been a orange number, then maybe you want to consider the 15 when it gets into that orange area. Okay, so another way that I use this is I try to correctly guess how many groups will be hit. Okay, so the last drawing, it was a 3-group combination, so you can see that the 20s had, the 20 group had 1, actually 2. The 20 group had 2 numbers. The 40s had 1 number, and the 50s had 2 numbers in it. Okay, the 50 group had 2 numbers. So when I go over to the 50s, you can see that the 2 numbers here. Okay, the 53 and the 56. So again, I like to keep track of every 5 drawings, and you can see with this 20 numbers, there's been 7 numbers that have come up in the last uh, 5 drawings here, okay, in the last 4 drawings. So I just think that is due to miss. So again, I want to get rid of the 20 numbers, and I'm going to do it going through the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the game card here, and I'm going to scroll to the right. So I'm going to scroll to the right, and this is what the game card looks like so far, with no red numbers from the color code, and now no 20 numbers from the individual numbers. Okay, so again, if I'm correct with my guess, and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be with one of these colored numbers still left on the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next strategy, and that's strategy number 3, picking the numbers I hope will miss from group 1. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 1 numbers. Okay, so how this works is I took all the numbers and I divided it into 4 different groups, and I put colors to these groups. Okay, so when the Powerball numbers land within these colored numbers here, I keep track of how many landed in the red area and how many landed in the blue down here in the stats. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Powerball homepage, and again, the 5 white winning numbers that just came up were the 23, the 28, the 41, the 53, and the 56. Okay, so again, the 28 number is here in the red. Okay, so when you go down to the red area, you can see that here's a 1, and again, that 1 represents the 28. Okay, so here in the blue, it's the 23 number that came up. So when you go to the blue area, you can see that 1, and again, that represents the 23 number. Okay, so here in the orange, the one that came up was the 41. Okay, and in the green, you can see that there was 2. Okay, and that was the 53, which is right here. It shares the square with the 69, and I'll talk about that in a second, and the 56. Okay, so you can see that that 2 down here represents the 53 and 56. Okay, so when that happens, when it hits all 4 colors like this, okay, I call that a row. Okay, and that way I could go back into the history of things and see where a row has come up. Okay, so you can see that here's a 0 right here, and again, that represents the orange area right here. Okay, so that 0 means that none of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this orange area. Okay, so the strategy is try to correctly guess where these zeros are going to come up. Okay, so on this drawing, if I could have correctly guessed that none of these orange numbers were going to come up, I could have eliminated all these numbers and really gave myself a much better chance at picking the 5 correct winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so you can see a 0 hasn't come up here in a little while. Okay, been 4 rows in a row here. Okay, so I think that's a 0 is due to happen. Okay, so my pick is going to be that I believe that this green area is going to have a 0 here. Okay, like this. Okay, so that's what I think is going to happen, which means that I don't believe that any of these green numbers are going to come up. Okay, so I want to get rid of them, and I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll to the right, and you can read underneath group 1, option card number 1, no green numbers, and you can see all these green numbers are gone. Okay, so I want to talk about how the 53 shares the square with the 69 here. Okay, and what I mean by that is you have to look at this as just keeping track of groups of numbers. Okay, so that's all I'm doing is I picked out a certain group of numbers, and now I'm just keeping track of the stats of them and the strategy is to guess whether this certain group of numbers is going to come up or not come up in the drawing. Okay, so when you look at this, when I go back to group 1 here, and you look at these green numbers here, if I want to get rid of all these green numbers, I'm going to get rid of the 53 and the 69 as a group. Okay, so that's all that means. All right, so when I go back to the game card, and you can see these numbers off here to the left, okay, the reason why I do that is because of the color code. Okay, so I need some separation because for this drawing, the 19 shares the square with the 67, but you can see that the 19 is an orange number and the 67 is blue. Okay, so that's why I can't have the 19 like crammed into this square with the 67. Okay, I need some separation, but when it comes to keeping track of groups of numbers, this is where I call this my group 1. Okay, so I have 15 of these option cards here. Okay, and they all kind of look the same as far as their colors, as far as red, blue, orange, and green. Okay, now you can see that the green over here in option card number 1 represents this group of numbers here. Okay, but the green numbers over here on option card number 2, you can see how the green numbers are separated in this group. Okay, so as I go on, again, I have 15 of these option cards. Okay, and the reason why I have so many is because I want to have as many options as possible to guess where that 0 is going to come up. Okay, so my next pick is going to be option card number 2, no green numbers. Okay, so I'm going to go back to option card number 2, and the reason why I'm picking this, okay, and again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently, okay, but for me, since it's my game and I've been keeping track of this for a while now, I know that on average when you get 2 rows like this, there's usually going to be a 0, one of these colored things here, colored groups, okay, so for me, I just think that it's going to be the green area. Okay, so I think there's going to be a 0 here, which means that I don't believe that any of these green numbers in this group will be coming up in the drawing. So again, I want to get rid of them, and I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, I'm going to scroll to the right. Okay, and you can see that underneath group 1, option card number 2, no green numbers, and you can see that all these green numbers are gone. So again, if I'm correct with my guess, and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these colored numbers still left on the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1, and I'm going to make another guess here. Okay, and I'm going to guess that number 4, no orange numbers will come up. Okay, so here's option card number 4. You can see how this grouping is laid out. Okay, so I don't think any orange numbers are going to come up, and the reason why is because it has one of these orange numbers have come up in the last 26 drawings. Last 26 drawings in a row here. Okay, so I just think that it's due to miss. I think that it's due to have a 0 here, like this, okay, which means that I don't believe that any of these orange numbers will be coming up in the drawing. Okay, so I want to get rid of those orange numbers, and I'm going to do it through the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the game card, and I'm going to scroll to the right. And you can read underneath group 1, option card number 4, no orange numbers. And you can see that all these orange numbers are gone now. Okay, so again, if I made the correct pick and none of these orange numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these colored numbers still left on the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1 for one last pick. Okay. So again, there's 15 of these option cards, and I'm going to make 4 picks out of them where I think a 0 is going to come up. Okay, and the next one is going to be option card number 8, no green numbers. Okay, so here I think there's going to be a 0. Okay, which means that I don't believe that any of these green numbers are going to be coming up. All right, so I'm hoping that they don't. So I'm going to get rid of all these green numbers through the game card. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, I'm going to scroll to the right. And this is what the game card looks like so far. Again, with those no green numbers in option card number 8. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting the numbers down here. I'm getting the colored numbers down. Okay, so if I'm correct with all my guesses, and the key word here is if I'm correct, and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these colored numbers still left on the game card here. Okay, so that's the whole strategy, is to reduce the numbers. I mean, if I'm correct, then I get the numbers down to a lot less than 69, okay, which just gives me a much better odds of picking the 5 correct ones. Okay, so I'm going to go off to the next strategy, okay, and that's strategy number 4, picking the numbers I hope will miss from group 2. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 2 numbers. Okay, so much like group 1, where I divided things into 4 different groups, here I divided things into 8 different groups. Okay, so it's just a different look at things. Okay, so again, there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so I know that 3 of these groups will not be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so the strategy is try to correctly guess what group won't have the winning Powerball number to it and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I want to blow this up just a little bit more here. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I use this. This is just like the group 1 numbers. Okay, except that there's 8 colors here. Now I use all the same colors for each different option card, and there's 15 different option cards here in group 2 as well. Okay, so I use the same colors as far as red, blue, orange, green, purple, brown, gray, yellow. Okay, and you can see over here on option card number 2, you can see how the red numbers are here in option card number 1. And as I scroll over to option card number 2, you can see how the red numbers are on option card number 2 here. Okay, so just a little bit different. Okay, so it's just a different group of numbers that I'm keeping track of. All right, and I keep track of these numbers down here in the stats. Okay, so I like to keep track of every 5 drawings. Okay, and the reason why I do that is because it shows me a majority of things. Okay, so here you can see this 0. That 0 represents that none of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. Okay, and this 2, of course, means that 2 out of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. Okay, so again, I like to keep track of every 5 drawings because it shows me a majority. Okay, so you can see that there was 3 zeros here. Okay, so when that happens, I color the background blue for cold. Okay, and then the next 5 drawings, you can see that there was 3 hits with 2, 2, and 1. Okay, so the majority were hits, so I colored the background red for hot. Okay, so why I do that is because when I go down through the history of this, okay, and the history starts at the top and works its way down to the bottom, left to right. Okay, so as I go down through, you can see that all this red area, I call it hot, all this hot area, okay? Since the lottery is so random, I know that nothing can be hot forever and nothing can be cold forever, okay? So as I go down through, I look for hot areas, and I know that they're going to turn cold eventually. I just have to correctly guess when that's going to happen. Okay, so here my first guess is going to be option card number 1, no green areas. Okay, so you can see that there's red here, okay, because the majority is already 4, okay, and then there's blue here because the majority has 3 zeros to it, and then there's this yellow one. Okay, and the yellow means that right now it's tied. Okay, 2 zeros to 2 hits. Okay, 2 misses to 2 hits. Okay, so I like to do that to have a little separation. Okay, this is the last drawing of 5. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be blue here, or do you think it's going to be red? Okay, so for me, I think it's going to be blue. I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, and as I go back up through, you can see that it's been kind of like a 50-50 type thing. Okay, and I just think that it's going to stay cold. Okay, so I don't believe that any of these green numbers will be coming up in the drawing, so I want to get rid of them. And again, I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, I'm going to reduce this down to 90%. Okay, and now I'm going to scroll down. And you can read underneath Group 2, option card number 1, no green numbers, and you can see that there's no green here. Okay, so I'll go back to the last one. You can see that before it was the 12, 52, and 60. And again, those numbers are gone now. Okay, so hopefully I made the correct pick and none of those numbers in this green area come up. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Group 2. And my next pick is going to be option card number 2, no orange numbers. Okay, so as I scroll over here. Okay, so again, here's the stats for the orange numbers, this group of orange numbers right here. Okay, so as I scroll down through, you can see that things got pretty hot. Okay, and it got hot here, and now I think that this is going to miss. So this has hit. There's been one of those orange numbers have come up in the last 8 drawings. So I think there's going to be a 0 here, okay, which means that I don't believe that any of these orange numbers will be coming up in the drawing. So I want to get rid of them. And again, I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so here's the game card, and I'm going to scroll to the left. And you can read underneath option card number 2, no orange numbers, and you can see that all those orange numbers are gone now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Group 2. There's 2 more picks that I want to make, and this is my next one is option card number 3, no brown numbers. Okay, so again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently. Okay, so I believe that these brown numbers as a group will not be coming up. And you may look at something else and say, no, I don't think it's going to be the red numbers. Okay, so again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently. Okay, so as I go down through, the reason why I'm picking this as a 0 is because you can see that things have been just really, really hot here. So now I think that this is going to be a 0 and color the background blue. Okay, so again, I don't believe that any of these brown numbers will be coming up. Okay, so I want to get rid of them, and I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so I'm back at the game card, and I'm going to scroll to the left. And you can read underneath option card number 3, no brown numbers, and now those brown numbers are gone. Okay, so again, if I made the correct picks here, and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within one of these colored numbers still left on the game card here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Group 2. And my last pick is going to be option card number 11, no red numbers. So again, I have 15 of these option cards, okay? And I know that at least 3 of them are going to have zeros to them. But just going through the stats, some are more attractive than others. Okay, so again, here's the orange numbers. Okay, so as I go down through, you can see that actually I'm getting rid of the red numbers. Okay, so here's the stats for the red. And as I head down through, you can see that things were pretty hot right down here. Okay, so I just think that this is going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so again, I don't believe that any of these red numbers will be coming up on option card number 11 as a group. So I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. So again, I'm going to scroll to the left. And this is what the game card looks like so far. Okay, so I'm all done reducing the numbers. Okay, so again, if I'm correct with my picks and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be here on one of these numbers still left on the game card here. Okay, so if I'm correct again, and the key word here is if, then I took 69 white ball numbers and now I reduced it down to 5, 6, 7. Okay, so if the 5 white winning Powerball numbers come within these 7 numbers here, I just gave myself a much better chance at picking the 5 correct ones, or at least winning some kind of prize. Okay, so to help me out with that, to help me really pinpoint, I'm going to turn to my next strategy. Okay, and that's strategy number 5, the 50-50 picks. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the 50-50 picks. So again, there's 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so that means there's going to be a majority of either odd numbers or even numbers, or numbers to the high side or numbers to the low side. Okay, so I like to keep track of that and try to correctly guess what the majority will be for the upcoming drawing. Okay, so how this works is this number right here, this 279. This represents how many drawings I kept track of so far. And this goes back to October 7th, 2015. That's when the Powerball lottery went from 59 numbers to 69 numbers. Okay, so out of this 279 drawings, 141 drawings have been the majority of odd numbers. 138 drawings have been the majority of even numbers. Okay, so to me, that's pretty amazing that it's so close to each other after so many drawings. Okay, so as I go down through the history of things, again, I like to break things down into 5 so it shows me a majority. Okay, so in this 5 drawings here, you can see that the majority was even numbers, 3 drawings to 2. Okay, so as I go down through, you can see that the last 5 drawings were the majority was even numbers. Okay, and then it was odd numbers. So I could go back into the history, and you could do this too. And what it does is it just tries, you have to make a decision, okay? And it's going to be either like heads or tails, or, 50-50. It's either going to be the majority of odd numbers or the majority of even numbers. You only have 2 options here, okay? So all this is designed to help you make a decision, okay? And hopefully it's the correct one, okay? So for me, because things are usually, as I go through the history of things, because the usual thing is 3 drawings to 2, whoever wins, okay? Whatever gets the majority, it's usually 3 to 2, okay? For some reason, okay? I'm going to guess that this is going to be 3 to 2 as well. Okay, so you can see that there's already 3 odd wins here. Okay, the majority of odds numbers for these drawings. So I think that the majority for this drawing will probably be evens. Okay, but my overall pick, I took odds. So I'm going to say that this odd number goes a little bit, has some separation from over here. Okay, so I think the majority is going to be odd numbers. Okay, so as I go on to the next one here, this is high and low, so all the red numbers are considered high numbers and all the blue numbers are considered low. Okay, so for this one, it's 137 for the majority of high numbers and 142 for low. Okay, so as I move on, 138 to the left side is the red numbers, and over here to the right is the blue numbers. Okay, And one last one is red and blue here. You can see all these red numbers. And excuse me. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so what you're looking at here is this is for the Powerball number itself. Okay, so as I go back to the Powerball homepage, this 14 is the red number. Okay, so this is what I'm keeping track of right here. Okay, so if you don't know about the Powerball lottery, how it works is you got to get the 5 white balls correct, and you have to get the red ball correct. So there's 69 white ball numbers total, and there's 26 red ball numbers total. Okay, so how I have this broken up is if you're looking at this column here, if you see a blue number, then that means it's a low number. Okay, so what I did is I just divided 26 into 2, so gives me a little separation. Okay, so I keep track of 1 to 13 as low numbers, 14 to 26 as high. Okay, so over here in this column, if you see a red number, then that means it's odds. And if you see a blue number, then that means it's evens. Okay, so this helps me just look at the colors. I'm kind of a color person here. Okay, so when I see a red streak like this, okay, I know eventually it's going to turn blue. I just have to correctly guess when that's going to happen. Okay, so for this drawing here, I think the Powerball number will be a high even number. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll down. And the 50-50 picks didn't really help me for this drawing, okay? And the reason why is because all the numbers are over here to the left side. I only have 2 even numbers left, okay? So they can't be the majority, so the majority has to be odds, okay? And the majority of the numbers are to the low side already. There's only 2 to the high, so it just doesn't help me, this drawing, okay? So I'm going to go on to the next strategy, and that's strategy number 6, picking the numbers I hope will hit from group 2. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards, okay? So that means that I have 15 of these red areas, 15 of these blue, 15 of these orange areas, okay? Again, they just represent different numbers from each different option card. Okay, so I like to keep track of that, of all 15 red areas and all 15 blue, and I call that the Group 2 overview. Okay, so I'm going to go to that right now. And this is what you're looking at is what I call the Group 2 overview. Okay, so again, all these red areas are represented right here. Okay, so on the left side, I count the hits. On the right side, I count the misses. Okay, so out of these 15 option cards in the last drawing, there was 8 option cards that had a number that came up. And there was 7 option cards that had no red numbers come up. Okay, so the magic number here is 8. Okay, so if there's 8 or more misses, I colored the background blue for cold. Okay, if there's 8 or more hits, I color the background red for hot. Okay, so again, I like to look at the colors and try to correctly guess when one is going to be a blue area and one is going to be a red. Okay, so for this drawing here, what I'm trying to correctly guess is what option card is going to be red. Okay, what's going to have a lot of hits to it. Okay, so I think there's going to be a lot of hits in this gray area right here. Okay, so I think that this is going to be red right here, which again means a lot of those gray numbers are going to come up, I hope. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll to the right. And again, I think there's going to be lots of hits among the gray areas of group 2. Okay, so what this means is this represents option card number 1. So as I go back to option card number 1 in group 2, you could see that it represents a group of numbers from the 7 down to the 63. And you can see that there's no numbers here that are highlighted anymore. So I put a 0 here. Okay, so I'm going to go to option card number 3. Okay, so the gray numbers represent the 6 down to the 30 and the 35 down to the 59. Okay, so as I go back in option card number 3, the only one left is the 59. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, so I'm going to head off to the next strategy. And that's strategy number 7, picking my numbers. Okay, so I'm going to scroll over to the right. And the numbers that I'm going to go with for this drawing are the 2, 3, 10, 33, and 59. Okay, so with that combination of numbers, that will get me 9 hits and 6 misses among that gray area. Okay, so as I go back to the group 2 overview, again, I think that this is going to be a 9 right here in the gray, and a 6, okay? And again, because there's more than 8 hits, it will be a red background like this. Okay, so that's what I hope will happen. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, again, the numbers that I'm going to go with for this drawing are the 2, 3, 10, 33, and 59. Okay, so you know how I talked about in the beginning at the game card about how a 3-color combination comes up more than half the time. So you can see that the 2, the 10, and the 33 are all blue numbers. The 59 is a purple, and the 3 is an orange. Okay, and that will give me a 3-color combination that I'm talking about. Okay, so I kind of feel really comfortable like that when 3 colors come up, because of that, again, it comes up more than half the time. Okay, so that's about how I use my game. Okay, so if you're interested in playing my game, again, to help the game help you with how the game will assist you in picking your numbers. Okay, so again, if you're interested, please go to my website at www.patreon.com/Decoding the Powerball. And if you'd like to send me any feedback, then please email me at decodingpowerball@gmail.com. Okay, so again, that's decodingpowerball@gmail.com. All right, folks, I appreciate you watching. Sorry that I got something caught in my throat there. Okay, but again, I appreciate you watching, and if you like the content of this channel, then please subscribe. Okay, and as always, I want to wish you the best of luck with your picks.